Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Aligned. Oh, I'm so happy to be back here. This feels like season 2, like episode 1 of season 2. If we were doing seasons, this would be season 2. And maybe we should. I don't even know how to do that, but hi, we're back. It's been a while. We've had an intermission, a necessary intermission because life was lifing, and yeah, we wanted to take a step back and really look at what we were pouring into Aligned, how we were pouring into Aligned, and how we could best be of service to all of you. And at the end of the day, like what is it? What's our mission? What is it that we're trying to do? And so over the last few months, while we have been a bit quiet here on the podcast and online, we've been refining things, and we've also been living out our own designs. We've been listening to our intuition and following the nudges. And in this period of time, it required us all to kind of take a step back and focus on ourselves so that we could pour into this business in the most aligned way. So, thank you all for sticking around, for being patient, for joining us on this journey. And today's episode is a beautiful conversation. And it was so nice to catch back up with Bee. Her and I hadn't had a proper catch up in a while. And so sometimes I feel like these podcast episodes act as that. And we really explore the topic of intuition, obviously, always. But how following your intuition doesn't necessarily mean that it will lead you to the easiest paths, right? It's not a guarantee like path of least resistance solution. Sometimes our intuition needs us to experience hardship, heartbreak, like financial struggles, whatever it might be, because that's the experience that's going to catalyze us into the next level version of us and our existence and our journeys, right? Like we're always growing and expanding, and it's often through discomfort that we meet kind of our growth edge. And the key in this conversation is understanding the difference between doing something because your intuition has told you so versus doing something from your mind. Because when it's an intuitive decision, even though it might lead you to discomfort, your body has given you the signal and the go ahead that this is safe, that you can do this, that it's for your highest good. Without that signal from your intuition, you have no idea what you're getting into, and your body has not signed off on it. And it can be dangerous. I mean, I have gotten myself into some of the most chaotic and crazy experiences by not honoring my emotional wave, acting impulsively, making a decision off of an emotional high or an emotional low. And it has put me in danger. I have had some gnarly things happen to me, whether it's from falling out of a car while it was moving, crazy scooter accidents on remote islands, surf incidents. Like, I've been through it. And some of those things were what was necessary. Some of them were very much in alignment with me and my intuition, and some of them were not. So that's kind of what we're unpacking in today's episode. And just, sharing a little bit about where we're at and what's been going on in our lives. And hopefully this episode feels as cozy as it felt for us, like you're sitting on the couch catching up. And we're so happy to have you here back on this page, and much, much more to come. Honestly, I'm really, really good.
It feels
Yay.
really good to be here. It feels just like a cycle is closed, and now being back in my own energy and being able to kind of like have distance from this like trip and everything. I feel really good, really happy to be here. And it's funny how just like things are moving again. Yeah.
It really be like that too, though, when you free up space in your life and you make that decision and things then like move things around, things move.
Yeah.
It's it's so energetically on point.
Yeah. And it's funny because I was talking to Mackenzie the other day at the
Yeah.
house, and because her and I are doing a lot of like business things together, a lot of programs and like these like private mini retreats for clients of mine. And we had all this momentum right before I went to Portugal leading up, like did this launch this program. It was incredible. And then it kind of gave me this like safety net so I could go to Portugal and focus on a different business, focus on this relationship, and not have to really like think about all the other projects I had going on, and to just be able to be without stress. Because the first time I was in Portugal, I had just like, my mind was in so many different places of like, oh, I need to be building these things. And like, and it was just like, there was a lot of like just scarcity. And this time it just allowed me to be in the experience, which is exactly where I needed to be, like immersed elbows deep into the experience. And then to be able to come out and have things just pick up again.
Yeah. And I think this is the beauty of having and I mean, we're going to dive into this today, aren't we? But like the ebbs and the flows, I've been really sat with this too. Like, we're not always going to be in this massive doing momentum and this massive like winning. And like, we can still be winning in different ways. We can be winning in space. We can be winning in relationship. We can be winning in our self-development. But sometimes the mind is like, well, if I'm not, if I'm not showing that I'm worthy through what I'm accomplishing, then I'm not winning. And I had the exact same thing in December to like now. And it was like, quiet, you've got time to build, you've got space, here's space. And it's beautiful when you can see it for that.
Yeah. But exactly, it's like you have to train yourself. I think you have to go through those phases of like, that happens and it's so uncomfortable and you fight against it and then you burn out and then you see it doesn't get you anywhere and then it happens again. And like, you almost have to like, it's like training your nervous system until you get to a point where like, I really do. I hit this point sometimes where I'm like, I don't really care. It's all going to work out. Just like put me through the experience. And speaking of experience, that kind of leads really nicely into the topic that we wanted to discuss today as it relates to intuition and this kind of like misnomer that I think a lot of people have about intuition, that if you follow your intuition, that it's going to always be maybe easy or the path of least resistance, or it's always like they think that the right decision, that an aligned decision is going to be the easiest decision or the most comfortable decision. And from my personal experience as, an emotional being, for you as an emotional and a third line, I think we both can attest that that is not the case, because that's the human experience. Like, we didn't come here for things to be easy, and that's part of what it means to be a human, to exist in this plane. It's like there is a struggle of being, how do we maintain our soul's essence in these physical bodies, in these 3D worlds, when like it sometimes seems like all odds are against us. And when I just think about this experience that I just had, where, like I was pouring into a relationship thinking that, okay, this was going to go in one direction. And my emotional wave, it's like I sat this decision out. I had all this clarity, all this alone time, and I kept getting nudged, and all these like signs and synchronicities were coming in that were basically saying, go back to Portugal, be with this man, and see where it goes. To the point where I was like, okay, I clearly can't ignore this. Yeah. I'm feeling into my unique type of emotional energy and intuition, and was truly just like, okay, it's out of my hands. I'm trusting, like, this is where I'm supposed to be. And having the emotional wave that I have, the channel of recognition, right? It's like my intuition speaks to me in a way, or it pulls me toward having deep experiences, feeling everything, like almost like going after the fantasy, experiencing the depth and the breadth of life. And so guess what? That means my intuition is going to sometimes pull me toward like that full spectrum, not just the high aspects. So my experience when I was in Portugal, it wasn't all like fine and dandy. There was a lot of like stuff that I had to go through. There was like grief, there was acceptance, there was like I had to take the idea that I had of something and
you have the expectations wave too, right? Where the bubble pops.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And so I had to have expectations, shatter expectations, go through the emotional wave of that, and come out on the other side to where I am now with so much clarity, so much renewed confidence in myself, so much like bird's eye view of like, wow, I can see that whole situation. I can see where I was led astray. I can see where I betrayed myself. I can see like the role that I played within this. I can see maybe the things I would have done differently were I to do it all over again. And I also know it had to go exactly this way in order for me to get to the point that I'm at now, to have the lessons that I had to have. Thank you, intuition, for putting me through this sometimes tribulating experience so that I can be where I am now.
Ugh, yeah. I literally, like you saying this, and it's just been coming through, and we've had a bit of space and stuff, right? So we've not been like consistently connecting. And I feel like collectively we all go through these themes, right? And I've had this mantra lately where it's like, you don't get what you want, you get what you need to prepare you for what you want. So when you ask, like, bring me this partner, bring me money, bring me more clients, like whatever it is that you're asking for, like, be prepared for your intuition to first lead you through the doorways that will be like showing you that you're not ready to receive that if you're not, right? So it'll be the boundaries that come up if you want the partner, or the opportunity to set the boundaries. It'll be how are you handling money, right? You know, all these different experiences that people are like, oh my God, it's not working. It's not working. Like, why is everything like going wrong for me? It isn't going wrong for you. You're being shown opportunities to prove that you are the person that can have the thing.
Exactly.
Or you're going through an experience that later down the line, you'll go, I'm not going to walk that way again. And I think this is what like so many, and it, you know, and this is where it's the same as like the pain point marketing. It doesn't sell to say to someone, learn your intuition and it's going to be a shit show at the beginning, you know, like it's going to fucking suck. Do you want to still pay to go on this ride? Like, imagine. I mean, we do that, you know, like we are in integrity and we're sharing that right now. But I was laughing at this the other day because in my business stuff, it was like, I want to be real where I'm like, guys, this is hard. Like, get over it. You either show up and do the hard shit or you're not going to get there. Like, it's as simple as that. But that is also exactly it. And like you said before, you've got to a point where even when shit hits the fan, you're like, okay, thank you. You know, what is this teaching me? All right, well, everything's always been okay before, so why would it be any different now? And that you only reach that point. I really do believe you only ever reach that point of neutrality, I would call it, through experience. You cannot learn that shit on logic alone. You know, you can understand it, but you can't understand it. If someone says to you, everything's going to be okay, and you really don't believe it, you have not yet gone through enough of the contrast to really know that it does. I really believe that.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And again, it's like, it's the experiential way, and we have to give ourselves grace for that. And it's so unfortunately deeply ingrained into our like culture and consciousness of like, we just want the quick fix. We just want like the fastest route. And you can't escape what it means to be a human. You can't escape pain. You can't escape hardship, but you can find a way to do it in an aligned way.
Yeah.
That's the difference, because is it then this again, this is like, it's layers then of pain and difficulty, because if it's your intuition that is pulling you toward an experience that, maybe isn't always pleasant or brings with it challenges. That's one thing, because that's your inner knowing telling you you're ready for this. This is what you need to experience for your next up level in order to get the things that you truly desire and the things that are waiting for you in this life. That's one thing. When we enter into things from the mind, right, because we are following what we think we should do, who we think we should be, what's expected of us, what other people around us are doing, what external authorities have told us to do, our bodies have never actually then given us, which is like, again, where the intuition lives, that is our inner compass. The body's never said, okay, this is okay, this is safe for us, this is aligned. So then our mind can put us in very dangerous situations, right? It can put us in very toxic situations that are in some regard avoidable when we know how to listen to our intuition, right? So there's like a spectrum of experience. There's aligned experience and there's misaligned experience. And I can promise you the misaligned experience is what's going to be a lot more challenging.
Yeah, 100%. And this is another piece, like, you don't know, you can never know what you really want. Like, you wouldn't enjoy when you get what you want if you didn't have pain.
Yeah.
God, like, I could be a massive Karen about not listening to your intuition, because I remember literally seeing articles 5 years ago now nearly, for Bali. And it was this Vipassana article about some guy. And I was like, I've got to go there. Now I know it's my sacral. And then I, followed my wave. And I went to Bali. I did this Vipassana, went on holiday, decided, oh my God, I got to live here. Basically went through a year of prep to get here. And then 2 months in, after following my intuition, I break my face in half. Like, riddle me that. I could have definitely been like, well, fuck listening to my intuition, because if I'd have stayed safe and stayed as a kindergarten teacher, the worst I would have probably got is peed on, But like, instead, I smashed. And then I listened to and then actually I got shown the complete opposite of that too, because when I was in the hospital, I didn't listen to my intuition. And I let the doctors tell me it's this, even though my body was screaming at me prior to the accident and after the accident. And finally, when I did, I ended up like clearing out all the drama that was happening with that, but 3 more surgeries that I didn't need. It's these pieces where I don't know why my soul decided to like put me through that lesson, but looking back, I needed to slow down. I best believe now in my life, when I'm in things like this launch I'm in right now, when I'm in where I'm pushing, because I have such capacity to push, right? Like, I have so much energy and I'm pushing and I'm going, you're tired, you're burnt out. If you carry on, you're going to start. And I actually get little intuitive signs where I'll trip up, I'll bump into things and I'm like, I see you. I see you. I'm listening. Okay, we'll go read my book. And I did this today, right? I listened instead of pushing through. I went and lied in the sun for 2 hours around my book, picked my phone up afterwards to a sale. And this is another beautiful gem that like you start to pick up the pattern of. When you listen to your intuition and you ride the wave that it brings you, whatever experience, if you really endure whatever it's giving you, on the other side, there will always be something. There will always be some kind of like manifestation that's coming where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And like I said, like that was my experience in Portugal too, where I was just like, well, I'm being shown what I don't want.
Right.
And also through what I don't want, I'm being shown what I want. Sometimes not getting what you want is like one of the biggest catalysts, because you realize this is the opposite, but now I know what's on the other side. And for weeks, I just had to like kind of wait. And I know for me, one of the greatest practices that I have available is to just go for a walk. And to just not put headphones and not do whatever and just walk. And I imagine sometimes, because I'm sort of having this like spiritual awakening at the moment, like of
Another
sorts.
one.
And sometimes I just imagine that like Jesus Christ is just walking behind me and we're just like sharing the space. We're not talking. We're just walking it out. And I'm just like, okay, God is with me. And it's okay if he's not sending me any messages right now. If he's maybe like, if it's quiet, it's because he doesn't want me to do anything besides be on this walk. Okay. Love this. We're just going to walk. And it's almost like this. It's like this, I don't know the word that I'm looking for. This quest of sorts. But I know that at the end of the walk, I'm not going to get to my destination.
Right.
But I know that I'm going to feel a lot better and I'm going to be more at peace with just allowing and surrendering and not fighting against whatever it is that I'm experiencing in the moment.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the beautiful like piece of neutral time, like the nothingness. Like so many times something might go wrong or we're in the discomfort, which is super aligned to be in for ourselves. But instead of just taking a moment to either sit with it or just be, like walk, do whatever it is that you're called to without any kind of trying to fix, like that is the beauty of it, because in that space, like you just come back to center, you just come back to calm. Whereas we're such a reactive race, right? Like humans, we're so reactive, and then we want to micromanage, we want to, and especially if you're emotional authority and you're in that like anger or you're in the high where it's like, no, I want to fix it now. And it just makes things worse. So if you could just go be in nature, because even nature itself is such a teacher. You can look around and go, oh my God, like look, the leaves are falling off the trees and they'll be back in a couple of months. And like, that's the cycle that I literally always remind myself of this. I'm like, oh, look, it's dying. It's going to bloom again. So will I. Why am I any different?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. Honestly, I think the hardest part is just sitting in the discomfort and discerning between intuition versus mind. Specifically when we're in the discomfort, we can convince ourselves of so many narratives of like, no, like I think this is what I'm supposed to do. Right? Like, no, I'm feeling this way. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. Right? And that's the hardest part. And there is no, like I said, there's no prescription. There's no way of like, well, then this is what you do to turn up your intuition. Because guess what? We all have different intuitions. Like we're all in these like unique fingerprints of a body. So of course my intuition is going to be different than yours, even though we both have emotional authority. And it really is up to you to build that relationship, to like find the discipline within you to start to exercise your intuition, to understand the mechanics of that intuition so that you can start to understand what are those little cues that you get. Like for you, for example, you might start bumping into something. You might just like have these things in your external world, like slow you down when you need to. Like we are all being guided. But that guidance shows up differently. And I can't tell you necessarily what that's going to look like. It's on you to strengthen and to train that intuition, right? That's why we created Aligned. And that's why we created something that's different. Because at the end of the day, it's like we cannot do the work for you. So you better start training. You better get in the gym and start working those intuitive muscles. We can provide you the gym. But you've got to show up. You've got to get there and you've got to do your reps.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another piece. It's like we've got so much focus on the physical body, but like the mind runs it signals the physical body, right? So at the end of the day, you're working so hard on looking a certain way. But if you were to actually put all that effort into connecting to your intuition again, you would actually win on both counts, because your body would be telling you when to go, what to do, which weights to lift, things like that. Like you would have all that guidance. And another piece too, like just becoming the watcher, I'm definitely experiencing lately and going through a launch, like it's basically a personal development fast track on steroids, because it's like you put your heart out there. It's something that you want to do well. So all your limitations of where you're still doubtful of yourself, where you're this, where you're that, all that's coming to the surface, and you got to be prepared for that. And even this morning, there was like, and I'll have these random ass thoughts that, because I've become such a watcher now, I'm very, very aware of my thoughts. But there will be the odd one that slips in where it's like, you should just quit. And I'm like, are we still doing this 5 years in? Have you learned nothing? Like, where are you pulling this from? And you get to a point when you become the listener that you can see it's not you. You know, as soon as a thought like that comes in, I'm like, who are you? Why are you here? What are you doing? And I can laugh. And my first response to that nowadays is to laugh at it. I'm like, oh, how silly of us. Like, shall we just reframe that for a moment? And you know, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, well, good for you. You know, it's 7 years of this process, right, to get to that point. And I would say I've been pretty consistent for 6 to 7 years of watching my mind and doing the work. You know, if you're listening to this going like, well, I don't have that. My mind's so active and every single day it's telling me I'm a failure and I'm shit and I'm this and I'm that. This is your sign to just sit and watch it. Like, there's nothing you have to do at this point. It's simply observing. And what I used to do at the beginning was like, ask who taught me that? Is that true? Because a lot of the time it's coming from something you've collected along the way.
Yeah.
And it becomes a lot more pleasurable up there when you do siphon through, because some things just completely disappear. I was listening to a podcast this morning where they were saying like, there'll be something in your reality that's really hard, right? Whether that's like relationships, whether it's a money thing, whether it's a business thing, like it'll just be something that feels like you can never fully break through it. And then you do. And then it just becomes like, how would I ever not? How would I ever have experienced it any other way? Like, it becomes your new set point. And that does not happen through listening to your mind. It only happens by following each breadcrumb of your intuition to get to that point where you can experience over and over again and choose differently over and over again. And you can't choose differently if you don't get given the same situations that you once made the, in inverted commas, wrong choice towards.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone was listening who, let's say that they are currently at a crossroads of like, I've been sitting with this decision and I don't know like whether it's my mind, whether it's my intuition, like, should I quit this job or should I move or should I do this thing? What would you tell them? Like, where could they start?
First of all, get you, if you're a generator or manifesting generator, you should probably join us instead the pathway. Because we really do have the tools. You know, we're gonna highlight your human design and we're gonna highlight your authority. So you're really gonna learn where that decision is made in your body, because it's one thing to say, listen to your intuition. Now yours could be your emotions. It could be an opening of availability. It could be that you need to speak things out. Like, it could be 7 different ways. And so we're really going to get clear on that. And inside, we're giving you practices. So you're actually applying that. We're giving you a space to start to learn what that feels like and examples of what that feels like. But something that I sink into from time to time, and I made a reel on this and I'm just trying to like remember what I said. But it was something like, take the decision and feel into all the things that thing could bring you, right? So just visualize what things would look like and feel like and what you would see if like you had that thing. And if that feeling is, you know, still feeling good, if money or resources or people's opinions or all of that external like yap was gone, what would your answer be? And if your answer is yes, it's like, okay, now I want you to take that to your mind and ask your mind, can we do this? And watch what your mind says. And I bet you your mind is going to come back to you and say, well, we don't have the money. Our mum's going to think this. Our friends think this, but we've not got the time. All of these reasons why not. But your body just told you yes. And that's how you know. that your mind is like swaying you away from something, because it has a lot to say about why you can't. It never says, go for it. That'll be a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the other side of that too, it's like if you start to say, well, it could bring me this and it could bring me that. And you notice that already as you're feeling into it, it's as if your mind is trying to convince you why you should, but you're kind of just like sitting there dead and empty. I remember having a conversation with my friend Erica once, and she has self-projected authority. So her intuition speaks to her through just word vomiting. It's not about what other people have to say. She just has to talk. Sometimes she'll call me and I'll just put my phone on speaker and I just let her talk. Right. And that's her way. So she was talking about this like idea that she had about work. And she was like, well, maybe I could do this because if I do this, then it will do that. And I could just hear, I'm like listening to her talk and I'm like, I don't think you want to do that. It doesn't sound like you're having fun imagining doing that.
Yeah.
And again, her logical mind was like, well, could be rational because of all of these reasons. But intuitively, she knew, her intuition at least knew, whether her mind knew yet or not. So that's why I say it's like, take that practice, combine it with what you can figure out or learn about your human design authority.
Absolutely.
And then you're going to have a much clearer path forward, because I also think it's really hard sometimes to hear your intuition when you're backing it into a corner, right? The moment, again, your mind is like, but we need to make this decision now. We need to figure it out. Like there's this external pressure on me. It's like, again, it's like, imagine a scared animal being backed into a corner. Like how can you expect to hear very clearly? So sometimes just taking the process of like, instead of focusing entirely on this decision and trying to get a decision right now, I'm going to study, learn a little bit about my intuition type, take some time away from the decision and maybe just exercise this understanding, or start doing maybe some of these practices, whether it's a breath work, whether it's a walk, whether it is a meditation, like watching the thoughts. And as you create a little bit of space and awareness around your intuition, then you can come to that practice again of really sitting with the feelings that the idea of what that thing will bring feels like within you. And that just starts the process of the self-discovery.
Yeah. And it's being willing also to take the risk as well, because you're not going to ever have, especially at the beginning, that clear, this is so clear. You know, you will get to a point where you find the symptoms and it's like, oh, I know this, like I can jump into this, and I can, for investing for me is like it doesn't carry as much weight as it used to. Because I'm just like, I know this is a yes and I know it's going to bring me in. I know there's a risk behind it. And like, that's why I need to say yes, you know? But it's also getting used to stretching that muscle again, you know? So start small. Like, we're not saying that you have to go and decide whether or not to quit your job right after listening to this, you know? But you could go to the supermarket and decide between what you want to eat today. You know, that thing that you're like, oh no, like I can't really afford that. But like, oh, really. And like, just listen to your body, because the way you're going to feel in your vibration, consuming that, if you really want it, that's going to do more than you saving the money and going with your mind, you know? And it's little tweaks like this that then set you on a trajectory of these like more aligned decisions until you're comfortable making the bigger ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I still have that all the
Exactly that.
time. Well, in the supermarket, and I'm like, the olive oil that cost me $30, you know, or I'll buy that, and it's like, like, this one's better for you. It's a no-brainer. But my mind is like, yeah, but like, it's $30. And I'm like, it's $30 for your health, you know? But it still happens. And I'm like, no, we're going with the body on this one.
Yeah. That's so funny. I think food and groceries, that's my easiest. I will not bat an eye. I have so many years now of practice. I also think it was very helpful being in the career that I used to be in as a business strategy consultant in corporate, because I was traveling for work every week. And I had this beautiful little thing called a corporate card with no limits on what I could spend. So I got very good at exercising the purchase power. I would get $18 smoothies in Manhattan on my way into the Rockefeller Center where I was working every morning. Sure. Put in the maca, put in the ashwagandha, like supercharge it with this. Granted, I will say, I made a lot of the decisions from the mind because I was in such a misaligned state and environment, which that's another thing. And we could do a whole different episode on this too, of like environment and just general alignment, right? But I was in such a distorted state. I was so disconnected from myself and my body. So my mind was making every decision to try to fix me so that I could feel myself again, so that I could feel healthy. So like I was the queen of the superfoods, but my digestion was shot. I had inflammation. Like, I mean, the superfood smoothies and the salads and the thing is too, it's like, I love health and wellness. Like it is such a passion of mine and I have so much knowledge, but it doesn't matter how healthy something is if your body is completely out of whack and out of alignment, right? But anyways, that's allowed me to get very comfortable with paying for what I at least now know my body needs.
Yeah, and as a Taurus, like we get what we want when it comes to food. You know, like there's no letting up when it comes to food. We shall be eating well. Yes. And it shall be dressed in a nice bowl with a bow on top, an extra parmesan.
Oh my God. Oh, so funny.
But it's true. And it's these micro, and you might think things like, well, how would making the right decision in the supermarket paint the bigger picture of alignment for my life? But it does. It does, because it sets you on a frequency. It sets you on an energetic, it puts you in an energetic state that is open to receiving more, it just does. And the better you can get at just using your intuition on anything, the more you will see evidence that it is the way.
Yeah. And funny enough, this just made me think of, like, as it relates to the supermarket and these seemingly little decisions, to use my ex-partner, current friend and business partner, as an example. He has been in a place of his life where he's been under a lot of scarcity. And that comes from the risks that he's chosen to take to try to build his business and his brand and commit to that, and kind of like cut off any other external sources of income and like financial security. And even amidst all of the, the tight budget, the scarcity, one thing that he will not one thing that he will no matter what prioritize is the food that he puts into his body and the quality of the food that he puts into his body. And so he will not be buying anything other than the bare minimums, but he will go and he will find a local butcher where he builds a relationship with them and he is buying his steak from them, and only going to the local little farmer's market. And the money that he does spend, he spends on fueling himself and taking care of himself and really like pouring into his spiritual and energetic practices. And sometimes, again, like when we're only looking for like, okay, I want the money or I want the job or I want this, and we're neglecting all of our basic needs and we're not taking care of ourselves, how can we expect to get that thing? So now what I'm seeing with him is actually things are starting to move, even when all odds seem to be against him.
Yeah.
So those little things, how we take care of ourselves, the relationships that we have with ourselves, hold such vast and profound weight.
They do. They totally, totally do. It's like, even I hired a PT and I know movement is so important for me. And my vibe is completely different. It's completely different. And I know why. It's because I'm doing, and also I know it's because for years I've wanted to be this fit. So the version of me that has the things I want is fit and consistent in the gym. So are we going to do that or not? It's all these little micro pieces, but
That's so good. Yeah, that's like, and again, this is going to be like an entirely different topic,
oh yeah.
but this is great. There's so much that we can say about intuition. I'm so happy to be back talking about these things, to be back on Aligned, connecting with this community after our little hiatus, which again, as we spoke to in the beginning, necessary hiatus, not necessary recalibration, creating space, right? And that's what we need to do for our intuition. And through that space, our intuition told us, all right, let's keep moving forward. Let's bring this back. Let's kind of, there's a bigger purpose here.
Yeah, 100%. And it's an ode to and it's an ode to that we practice what we preach here. We really do. And we've created through the couple of years that we've been co-creating, like we respect each other's intuition too. And it's beautiful because then you start to bring that into your relationships. And so you honor somebody else's intuition, no questions asked. And it's really beautiful when you can get to that point because it does work out for the best for you too. And it's just magical.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So beautiful talking as always. And we've got some new guests already lined up in the coming weeks. And yeah, we'll keep diving into these different little tips and tricks and topics as it relates to intuition and how we can deepen that connection.
Beautiful.